Right, it's Bank Holiday Monday, Mr. Sunday video, but just doing a quick one now. Not really much has happened this week, but it's been last week's been pretty cool here in the UK. If you don't live here, you won't know, but it's been really quite sort of overcast and, you know, really just sort of 20 degrees, just not quite cold but not quite warm, just a wasted week of weather basically, no rain. But anyway, so we're gonna get stuck in. Start here with the cannas, because these have done really well actually this year. The Russian reds have sort of finished flowering, but I'll cut them back and they'll send out new flower spikes. There is a few that haven't flowered yet, but really in a first for me, the canna musifolia. I've never had this flower for me, but this has actually flowered this year. One has already gone over, flower spike there. One is now flowering, the leaves in the way of the flower spike there. But yeah, so it's really the first time. I know they do flower in the UK, but it's need a long season, and we've had a long growing season, to be fair. That's been warm pretty much from the start of May. It's been sunny, and yeah, so we've had several months. They've grown well. They're probably, well, they're definitely 8 foot plus, possibly 9 foot to the top of the leaves, I don't know, but yeah, they've done really well. So I hope you're all enjoying your bank holiday Monday. By the time you're watching this, it's probably been and gone, but I hope you enjoyed whatever you've done. I hope the garden's looking good. Yeah, so it's unusually for a bank holiday. It's been really sunny, really warm, a little bit blowy, but still quite nice. Yeah, so everything's doing well, or as well as it can do with lack of rain. I've just finished watering. It took me just over an hour to give everything a sort of good soak. Everything's looking a bit like they're struggling, but that's because it is. The ginger lily has just gone over. That didn't last long, literally about a week the flowers lasted on that. They're just about all gone over. Pretty, but nothing to write home about. It's more about the foliage for me. What we have got, just look into this, and there's a bit of noise next door, but we'll try and overlook that. So we've got the umbrella magnolia here, which I've planted in the ground. I had it in a pot for a month or so, didn't really do much, but since it's been in the ground, it's really pushed out a bit of height, and it's looking a bit droopy at the minute. I've just given it a good water, that should pick up again. So that's really sort of took off since it's gone on the ground. I'm hoping over the next couple of years that'll fill that gap there. Yeah, so in general everything's doing pretty good, again considering. Let me come around this side because that noise may be affecting the audio. I've been looking at my small Jabea chilensis, and it's done pretty good this year. Well, unsurprisingly, but just a reminder, this only went in the ground last year. Last year, from a very small pot, probably a 15-litre pot, went in the ground, pushed out 3 leaves in that first summer, and this year it's already opened 4. Well, about to open 4, so we can see the new leaves because they're still sort of attached to each other. I could pull that off, but well, I'll leave that, let nature take its course. But yeah, so the leaves are still attached where they've opened up this year. But yeah, we've got the 1, 2, 3, and we've got a 4th now opening, so not too shabby for a slow growing palm in the UK climate. So the Eucomus, sparkling burgundy. The foliage, this was deep burgundy when it comes out. When it starts to go into flower, it does fade out. I guess it's the energy going into the flowers that do tend to bleach out a bit in the sun. So there's still a bit of burgundy in it, but more of a sort of washed out to green burgundy. But we've got a couple of nice pineapple lilies on that. One that's dropped to the side there, but yeah, that's looking pretty good as well. I do notice this time of year, you know, sort of late August now, the sun is really starting to shift, whereas in the sky, you know, early summer, that goes right over behind the trees there. This time of year it's really starting to drop. That sort of drops down to here, so that'll slowly work its way that way till we get to winter, where literally we'll just get a little bit of sun there. So it is important to know the orientation of your garden, and for planting reasons, obviously if you've got tenders or something that's going to need a bit of sunlight to rebound after a frost or something. And yeah, so I'm quite lucky the direction or the orientation of my garden, because that does obviously the bungalow itself blocks a bit of sun directly behind it, but in general the whole back garden gets a good amount of sunlight, which is important. So after last week's video, I had a few comments saying they didn't realise colocasia flowered. Well, they don't always, depends how well the growing season's been, and if you've been watering them, they should be flowering by now. I mean, I've had most of these. I mean, some of these, I mean, this clump here flowered really early on, still flowering to an extent. Not always desirable to get the flowers, that does really slow down the growth. I suppose you could cut them straight off. I've just left them, but I have noticed since they've started flowering, there's been no new leaves emerging, no big leaves. So that might be something to consider if you maybe want to keep them growing bigger leaves and keep them growing stronger. Maybe cut the flowers off if you're not interested. But like I say, I mean, I think I've achieved what I want to this year. This new centre bed here is quite full. I don't need anything to get any bigger, and they've probably been held back a little bit by lack of water as well. Let's just remind ourselves that a lot of people maybe in the US or other countries think that UK is a drizzly, wet country, and certain areas that might be, but there's a lot of areas in the UK where in the summer we get very, very little rain. My area in East Anglia, Norfolk, Suffolk way, we don't get a lot of rain at all in the summer. I think we've had maybe 2 or 3 good downpours all summer, and other than that we've had a little bit of drizzle here and there, but it's been a struggle. So again, a lot of people have mentioned, oh, what's the big red thing in the garden, the big red flower plant? Well, that is an Amaranthus. I don't know exactly if it's common name, love lies bleeding or something like that, or it might be a variation of that. Again, each one of these flower heads here, there's millions of seeds on that they'll self-seed everywhere. Once you've got them forever. Would I have planted them here? No, but in fairness, they've come up there, and a lot of the time the slugs get them when they're small. So it's nice to have a couple of big sort of brightly coloured things just to break up the greenery a bit, so I'm not complaining about that. And there's quite an interesting contrast actually between the really sort of pinky purpley flowers to the actual palm behind, the Brahea Amata, because they're such a bluey silver. When you've got such a strong colour behind, it really does stand out. So let's come around this side. So when you've got a colour like that compared to that behind, it really does make that look like a well, it is a fantastic coloured palm, but it just enhances the colour, really does. Again, I wouldn't have planted that there, but that's the way it goes. Yeah, so in general, obviously, bank holiday, people are working in their gardens, making noise, that's not a problem. The queen palm's doing well. So again, this is the Santa Catarina variant, so the mountain queen palm. Opened one leaf already, and it's now getting ready to, it's got another big spear which is going to open shortly. I hope I'm pointing in the right place, because I can't see my viewfinder. Let's have a little bit of a closer look. I do need to top the pond up, because that's been evaporating rather quick in the windy hot weather. Right, so let's have a closer look at this. I mean, this is not a huge palm by any means, but it has been in the ground outside in the UK for 2 winters, and it's pretty much done the same thing each winter. We've seen down to -7, you know, on more than several occasions we've had -4, and we don't really tend to get a prolonged freeze, but we do get like the ultimate low, quite low sometimes. I think -7 is actually the lowest I've actually ever recorded in the garden here on the Suffolk coast. Even when we had the beast from the east, that's maybe about -7, but that was prolonged, that was over a week. And the Canary date palm still made it through. Yeah, but the queen palm here, mountain queen, again, that's not going to be for everyone. It's not going to look perfect, but it is something a bit different, and it does grow. People say, oh, you're wasting your time growing them, and I do come back to this a lot, because it does frustrate me. It may be a waste of time for them in their eyes, but for me, I enjoy growing palms, you know, even the more unusual ones that are going to be slow grown, sables and queen palms, things like that, that need a lot of heat. And we've had good heat this year, and that has, like I say, pushed out this new leaf here, albeit a couple of the leaflets were damaged, because that's where it was emerging from the crown at the time over winter, but that's pushed out and fully opened up, and we've got a new spear coming there. So right, yeah, so I mean, I don't really have too much to say today. I mean, I've got some little palms arriving next week, some seedlings from a private Facebook seller, so I'll be looking forward to receiving them. I think there's some more little sables, some ones that I haven't got yet, and possibly quite a big palm coming, possibly the biggest palm I've ever brought, but that I'm still 50-50, but if it turns up, that'll be in a video next week, so we'll have a look at that if and when that happens. But yeah, quite a substantial purchase, but quite an unusual large palm. Yeah, so the Cyathea medullaris black tree fern, this has been doing all right over summer. I mean, considering it's been dry, it is on drip, so that does get a blast of water at least once a day. Hopefully I haven't let it dry out too much. It has pretty much all the leaves that it started with at the beginning of summer. 2 of them snapped in the wind, 2 have sort of browned off at the back there, and 1 at the side here, still a bit of green on them, but it's opened up 3 big leaves, and this one is quite big, and it's now opened up the 4th, so that hasn't done too badly. Quite pleased with that. Right, yeah, so at this time of day it is sort of mid-afternoon now, so this is why this is I class this as a shady border, even though it does get full sun in the mornings. By sort of early afternoon this time of year, that's in full shade. But another plant that's done really well is the mower's toes pseudopanax. I mean, this, like a lot of the, you know, factors and these sort of types of plants, they do a big push, a big shot of growth first thing in the spring, but this has been pretty much grown constantly. It's continually flushing all the time. So this went in 2 years ago as probably barely a 3-foot plant. It's now well over 6 foot and doing rather well. So I'm really pleased with that. New, I say new, maybe about a month or so ago, B&M Tracky. Looked exactly the same as I put it in, so that's not a bad thing. Didn't have a huge root ball. It wasn't a very large pot, but the root ball itself was quite small, well over potted. But there was new roots coming, so I put it in. I've been watering it. That should, I don't expect anything this year. Next year that should start taking off. Alright, so what we'll do is leave it there, because like I say, it's not really much been going on. I haven't really done anything in the garden this week. I've been really quite busy at work, and I will be next week as well. So yeah, I've sort of didn't do a midweek video. I don't know if I'll have time to do one next week. If I do, it might be on the question mark large palm purchase, but we'll see on that. We'll leave it there. Oh, before we go, I was just looking at the Rondo Dunax, the Spanish reed, and really does look quite nice this year. I know it's been very dry, but I do find, and I had a comparison to this when I did have, I've got a raised trough bed at the back here, and I had bamboo in that for several years, and when we had years like this where it was hot and dry, the bamboo wilted and struggled. The Spanish reed shows no ill effects whatsoever of the drought, and it has been a drought this year, but it just looks fantastic. And the foliage, I mean, I can't even get close to reach it, but you know, these are 12-14 foot tall, and the leaves are 2-3 foot long, and just absolutely stunning variegation on them. Yeah, I really like them. That's definitely a tall plant I would not be without. Right, so we will leave it there. The sago never did flush, but there's always next year. It did flush last year, really big flush actually. Don't really want it to be started flushing now, so I've sort of cut down on the water and let that dry out a bit, and that will hold off till next year. Right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.